Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Lulu Story podcast, where style meets soul, a place to inspire you on your own journey of becoming and self expression. Through conversations with inspiring women, we will uncover what it is to truly show up as ourselves and the tricks and tips we need to build a wardrobe and style we love so we can feel at peace in our skin, be visible and thrive as ourselves. And on today's show, I am very excited. We're going to have so much great advice today as we have amazing stylist and journalist Anna Berkeley on the show. Hi, Anna. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Lulu. Thanks for asking me. It's an absolute pleasure.
It is incredible looking back at your career and the depth and breadth of experience you have when it comes to style. And you started, I believe, as a fashion women's wear buyer, and you had over 30 years of experience
Yes,
working in that
30 years in the
field.
industry. How has that happened? I know it's crazy, isn't it? Every time I say that out loud, I'm like, really? It doesn't feel like it's that long, but clearly it is. Yeah.
And it feels like the evolution of your journey. You have done the women's wear buying, you are a very successful stylist,
Yeah.
you have been a fashion consultant, and 2 years ago, you launched the Think Shape app.
I
And I'd
did.
love to really start there. Do you want to share a little bit about the app, what it's all about, how it helps people?
Thank you so much. Yes. So basically, 9 out of 10 women don't know what their body shape is. And that's obviously a bit of an issue because if you don't understand the kind of outline shape and how that's built, then you can't possibly take on the kind of the learning about that shape in itself, but also how you dress to balance that shape. And really think shape's all about balancing. So what the app does is it now has a scanner, so you can do 2 photos, front and side on, and it will tell you your dominant shape. I've renamed those after goddesses, Greek goddesses, because I was like, who wants to be called a brick or a
Yeah,
pear or a whatever? Like they're
yeah,
horrible, reductive names.
yeah.
But they're all renamed. So you can be a lovely Greek goddess. That's your dominant shape. We are a mix of shapes, as kind of a lot of people understand. But this tells you a dominant one, and we have a very clever way of kind of working that out. Then it will also tell you your proportions, which are arguably more important than the outline shape. And I think there's been probably too much importance kind of attached to the shape in the past. So really, the proportion is more important, as you well know. So how long are the legs compared to the rest of the body? How long's your neck? How broad are your shoulders compared to your hips? What shape is the arm? What shape is the leg? All sorts of really rich kind of understanding about how your body is built and made up. And once you've got that, you can start to understand what neckline looks best, what shoulder shape, shoulder design looks best, what fit looks best, what fabrics to choose, what print to choose, literally head to toe, the whole thing. And I think people don't think about scale. So there's things like frame size to consider. So I'm a bold frame, so I like all my big kind of cocktail rings and big print, big pattern, larger bags, funkier shoes, all of those kind of things. And it was something I never got even 10 years ago. I was like, my husband bought me some really beautiful liquid jewelry and I loved it. And I was like, why does it look so weird? It just kind of disappeared. It just even, you can even see it. It was really odd and I didn't understand why. And then when I learned about body mapping, and that's the private practice work that I do that I've turned into the app. So essentially understanding proportions, understanding your shape and kind of accepting it and just going, right, this is how I'm built. I'm not going to try and be any of the other shapes or any of the other goddesses. I am me. This is where I'm at, especially if you're on a weight change journey or menopause or post pregnancy or any of those things that women have to deal with where shape does change quite dramatically.
Mm.
And quite often I was finding with clients, they were like, I don't know what to do with this. I kind of understood it in my youth, but now I really don't understand it. And that's a big shift. And they see it as a really negative thing. And it doesn't have to be negative at all. It's just going, okay, what are the things that are going to look the best? And once you've got those, you've got building blocks, you can check against your wardrobe. Lots of things that a lot of women, A, don't know and B, don't think about. And actually, they do inform a lot to do with the clothing choices that we make every day. The idea being that you can use the information in this to understand which things work best in the wardrobe, but why. So if you don't understand why, you can't replicate. So it's like that thing where someone has a favorite outfit, for instance, and they try and go out and buy something similar and then wonder why that doesn't work. Well, maybe the neckline's slightly different. Maybe the shoulder's different. Maybe the fabric is completely different. So there's all these different kind of building blocks really for understanding. And shape changes. So it can change post-pregnancy, it can change because of medication, it can change in menopause. And then I think women get really disillusioned and really fed up. And I was like, I don't want women crying in changing rooms. I don't want women to not go into a shop and be a bit excited about what they might find. I want them to know what to look for in terms of the shapes, the styles, the fabrics, the prints, everything. And that's what the app tells you.
It's incredible. It's very exciting. And I think that so often that understanding the why can help people really have so much more peace with themselves and
Yeah.
carry a lot less shame about their bodies. And so many women out there that have got so much shame around their bodies, and it's really
Yes.
just needed. It's just about educating yourself. So I love that you're championing that. What about your own journey with understanding your body shape? You know, when you now are obviously armed with all this information and you've
Yeah.
styled hundreds of women, thousands of women, what is it you've learned about your own body over the years?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I haven't changed much. No, I'm a straight line figure with broad shoulders. So I'm that sort of typical athlete shape. I'm not an athlete, just to be really clear, but I am that kind of shape. And that's not a hard shape to dress. It's
Yeah.
an easier shape because you can kind of create shape on the body if you want to, or you can just go, I'm going to wear things that don't have much shape, and that also doesn't really matter so much
Yeah.
for those shapes. So I'm an easier one to dress in the first place. I think I never really had a waist, but after having 2 kids, that pretty much went. So I got even straighter. So I was a bit like, so I did work very hard on trying to kind of cut into that space in the middle and try and work out what I looked best in. So, but I'm always learning. I mean, I'm always learning from other people. I'm learning from
Yeah.
clients. I'm learning from just testing stuff. So it is actually constant in the sense that, yeah, I know what looks best on me, but I'm always learning tiny little new parts to that. And I love that. And I think that that's kind of the beauty of clothes and the beauty of fabrics and new designs and everything. So yeah, I don't know if
I
that
think
is the question.
I think as fashion evolves as well, we're kind of when a new
Mm,
style comes out, you're kind of then questioning about your relationship with
yeah,
that and how it works. But I think one of the things you've just said there about the fact that you have got a figure that's a little bit easier to dress, I think is really refreshing because I often say to a lot of my clients, there are figures that are more challenging.
yeah,
And, especially a lot of the kind of influencers and people we see have got figures that are easier to
yeah,
dress. And I
yeah,
it gets mentioned and I don't think it
yeah,
gets talked about. And there are, even if you kind of know, I mean, I'm very short waisted, so proportionally, and I have a
yeah.
very round lower tummy. So I've always found it quite challenging. And I think that, even people just maybe hearing that, it's not as easy for
Yeah.
everyone. That's also okay. And just understanding, what works for you is the most important part of this.
Absolutely. And also, I think it's, there's some amazing influencers out there. There's some amazing eyes. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of what we call it in the trade, isn't it? They've got a good eye and
Yeah.
they really have. But I think what really upsets me is that a lot of women, they follow these incredible women on Instagram, let's say. They rote buy what they recommend, they buy the whole outfits, they buy the whole thing, and then they get really upset when it doesn't work on them. It's nothing to do with you, it's just the wrong clothes. Like
Yeah.
it's not we mustn't blame our bodies because they're not shoehorned into something that you think is the right thing. It's not the right thing for your shape, your body, your proportions. Like everyone, we've got 600 million permutations of body section on the app. So
Wow.
that already speaks to how unique we all are. We're like a fingerprint. We are, even if you're the same outline shape as someone, you are totally different proportions. We just are, and that's lovely.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of embracing the difference,
Yeah.
really, well.
For those of you listening to this podcast, not just watching, I am literally here nodding my head like I couldn't agree
Cheers.
anymore. It's so incredible. It's so true. I mean, how have you found that entrepreneurial journey of jumping from, you know, you've obviously had many chapters within your,
Yeah,
your career, but jumping into tech
yeah,
is
yeah.
a
I
bold
still
one.
don't.
Like, how have you found that?
Bold or stupid, you can look at it. Yes, I mean, I think my developers would laugh at the idea that I still don't really understand more than half of what they talk about, and I have to go, "Can you just explain that in layman's terms, please? Because I still don't know what any of those things mean." So, yeah, I have learnt a lot, but, yeah, I leave to the experts on that side. I do my content, and then, they work their magic with it. I think one of the things we're really proud of is that we launched late last autumn, the shopping edit. So that's a curation, because again, I'm just hearing a lot of people really fed up with shopping and scrolling and getting really weary of that whole kind of merry-go-round and there just being too much choice. There is too much choice. We both know that.
Yeah.
And this was, trying to kind of filter that down for them, show them the right things, buy less, buy better, buy right, you're done kind of thing.
Yeah.
So again, we encourage people to look at their wardrobe to see what's going to go with these things, but it's unrealistic to think we're never going to buy new clothes. We will need new clothes at some point. We just don't need lots of them, and we need them to be the right thing in the first place. So, that's what we're trying to kind of encourage as well with the app.
And what have you learned about yourself in this entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that I'm very resilient. I think the thing with these types of journeys is, especially if you've gone into something where you're not an expert on the whole thing. So like with the tech, with the app element of it, you learn to be a bit humble about that for a start, because you just know that you couldn't possibly do what they do. So there's that kind of finding the right developer, making sure that the relationship works, having that mutual respect, really. And I think one of the big things I had to learn, I don't like making mistakes. I've always been someone that's been very nervous about making mistakes. It's a childhood thing. I found maths really difficult, for instance. I'm a creative. I'm great when it comes to English, history, art.
Mm.
Brilliant. I can really get into those. I can do well. I cannot do well on the science kind of maths side of things. It's just not the way my brain works. And I think that it's like, how was I trying to explain this? There's a really beautiful book called Lessons in Chemistry, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you've read. In that book, I've got it somewhere. I should have got the page out, but there's a piece where she's been working on something for years and trying to get it right. And there's an acceptance in that kind of chemistry world that you just make mistakes all the time and that you expect mistakes and that's great. And she's like, they're great. And I was like, what do you mean they're great? Like this, they're not great. But actually they are, because all the things that have gone wrong, and many things have gone wrong, whether that's a technical thing, whether it's something I've done, whatever, for whatever reason, each of those things, without sounding really kind of trite about it, each of those things has made something better down the line. So I've kind of got quite fatalistic about it now. And I'm a bit like, well, maybe that's what was meant to happen. And maybe that wasn't meant to work, but it meant that we worked hard to find a solution. And then that thing was better in the end. So I don't know, I think that's been probably the biggest learning, that just sometimes you've got to just let the thing evolve kind of as it's meant to, and not feel like it has to be done in this kind of very rigid pathway, which is how I certainly started off the journey.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful lesson. I mean, I have to say my mantra is like things are always working out, because I
Yeah,
think I've had so much fear during my decade in business,
yeah,
and having a young family, this needing the income for this, there has been a lot of fear that has
yeah,
underpinned the business. And actually, the more in the last like 3 years I have been able to kind of relax and
yeah,
trust in it all, the bad, the good, the ugly, the mistakes, like you say. It's amazing how much, whether that's you just suddenly learning about boundaries, or you're learning, there's like these lessons that come up. And I love that you're kind of allowing this thing to evolve, and that you've learned that about yourself. I can really relate
yeah.
to. So let me, seeing as you were talking about you as a little girl, let me take you, like, can you remember, I love asking this question on the podcast, the first kind of piece of clothing that really made you feel like you, that you think, I just, it was so exciting to own that.
Yeah, there were a couple of things. I think the first thing, probably the youngest thing, was a chocolate brown, dark chocolate brown velvet, like special dress that I wore at Christmas. I was probably 6 or 7. And it
Um,
had like a white, it's very 80s, had
yeah.
like a white collar and sort of fit and flare kind of shape. And
Yeah.
I was obsessed. And my mum was like, you need to take that off now. But she was wearing that for like days or all through Christmas and then just kind of didn't really want to come out of it. That was the first thing. And I think that was a texture thing. It was a color thing. It was just the feeling that it gave me of kind of feeling so special in that dress and just feeling very feminine and girly and all of
And you're
those.
still in a white collar today.
Yeah, I bore it in homage to that. No. And then I think the other thing that really sticks in my mind is, again, very 80s, was like a burgundy shoe. It was like a pointed toe and it had this massive gold bow on it.
Oh,
Loved the fact that the burgundy looked so beautiful with the gold. And I remember I used to sort of line them up and I'd just look at them. I'd be like, that colour's so nice. I wouldn't have registered that it was about the colours and how nice they looked together.
yeah.
I just loved it. And I think that it's a shame in a way I didn't realise at that point that fashion should have been the thing I was kind of aiming at. I didn't really, I'm not sure you do have a sense that maybe it's better now, it's easier now, but certainly back in the late 70s, early 80s, just wasn't kind of on my radar.
So when did it become on your radar? When did you first think, I want to dive into this, and it become?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I always loved shopping, always loved clothes, but I didn't think about it as a career at all. I think our career service was rubbish. It should
Yeah.
definitely have come up. I went to university, did my favourite subject, which was history, happily did that, thought I was going to do research or teaching. Got to my second year, I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that. I just don't want to do it. And then I did a Christmas job at Topshop in Leamington, where I'm from, and loved it.
Mm.
And I got talking to the manager one day and she was talking about the buyers coming in the next day. And I was like, oh, right, well, what do they do? And then she told me what they did. And I was like, well, that's a job. You spend other people's money and you get to choose all the clothes. Where do I sign up? And I had trouble getting in because the graduate programs that I tried to apply for were all like, well, you didn't go to fashion college. You haven't done a fashion degree. You haven't even seemed to show any kind of interest in it properly. So I had to really kind of try and argue. So I didn't get any of those jobs. I got a job as an allocator, which is like the lowest of the low kind of stock, sending out stock. Brilliant job because you have to start at the bottom. I really believe you need to start at the bottom and work up so you just understand. Otherwise, you don't
Every
understand
layer.
what's going on, do you? If you don't do that, you have to work the shop floor, which I duly did. Then, so yeah, I was an allocator at Wallace, and that's where I started. And then I became a buyer kind of down the line. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I mean, I think it's been so interesting with Topshop relaunching recently, and
Yeah.
so many of us reminiscing about the power
Yeah.
of Topshop. And I don't know about you, but I was really disappointed with
I know. Same. I
what they
know.
came back with. They had a real opportunity of taking
Yeah.
charge of the actual, and they reflected society and what we craved as
I did.
buyers. And then they seem to not be doing that right now. It's a real,
Yeah. I know. It's really tough. I think it, there's too many people doing the same things, and that's really a
mm,
problem.
yeah.
Yeah, it needed to be different, and it's not.
So what
Yeah.
is exciting you about style and fashion at the moment? Brands, or like, I'm loving we both got asymmetric earrings on today. Like, what is
And
exciting
this,
to you?
yeah, I mean, do you know what? It probably is more accessories at the moment. I love finding, it doesn't have to be anything, it doesn't have to be expensive. I love finding something new that's from a small brand. I'm going to now forget everything I thought of in terms of small brands. I like things that are slightly sculptural and unusual. Again, they suit me. I mean, this is Alexis Bitter, and I've got the matching bracelet, and it's just,
I've got the bracelet too. Yeah, I love Alexis Bitter. Yeah.
yeah. fantastic, and I love the fact, it's slightly hammered, so it's got this kinda
Yeah,
like
texture, that organic.
yeah, again, and I
Mm.
love the sort of mix of shapes. So everything that she does, I'm really into. This is mounts, and this is really old. I've had this 2 or 3 years, well, really old, couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And again, it's on its own, and I just love the kind of swirl and the mother of pearl, and it's slightly different.
Mhm.
I like things that are different. I like things that add shape, like,
Yeah.
instantly. I've got a Loewe belt, one of the Obi belts that kind of
Yeah.
gives you this massive hip and kind of, top of the waist.
And you
So
always do a lot of those kind of really interesting sculptural third pieces. You've also got that beautiful, kind of waistcoat corset
yes, yes.
third piece that you wear, which I love. It's like in a looks like it's in a tweed, but
Yeah, that's Our Legacy, which I do like, and yeah, I love that one's cord, actually, I love cord.
board. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's more I kind of approach it more from texture and shape than anything else. I mean, I have to say, rather sadly, there's not a lot that's exciting me in terms of the clothing on the market at
Mm.
the moment. I do love what Roha do,
Yeah, okay.
they're amazing. I like that kind of, it's not just that it's just a bit oversized, it's more interesting than that. And they've played with proportion really cleverly, and they've got lots of sort of tying bits and two pieces that are actually one piece, and things like that. So I like that slightly different approach.
And what's when you're coming into the season, because we're obviously recording
Yeah.
at the beginning of October,
Yeah.
what's your approach to bringing in new pieces? I mean, what are you somebody that kind of just allows that evolution and flow like we are talking about with the gap, or are you a bit more kind of like this is the gap? How do you tend to approach things?
I do look for the gaps because I think that's really important. I have a small wardrobe. I don't buy very much, actually. I've got a lot already. But not I haven't got what I think people would expect me to have. So I've
Yeah.
got, I've got plenty, but I haven't got a crazy wardrobe because I just don't have the space for it. I do look for the gaps, yes. I look for the kind of thing that's gonna really excite me and that I'm
Mhm.
gonna be wanting to kind of wheel out a lot. And I do repeat where, over and over and over. So I kind of tend to get obsessed with a couple of things and then really focus in on those. So no, I don't plan it. I kind of wait to see the things that I get. I have to kind of get that slightly elevated heart rate when I see it,
Yeah.
when I kind of know. And then I will be very measured about whether I buy it then and there, whether it needs saving up for, how it's going to make at least 3 outfits. I think really carefully, but I'm quite mindful about it. But it's not to say I don't get that kind of like, but yeah, it's evolves rather than it's planned, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I
Yeah.
completely I mean, I was, did a video we were recording with my intern the other day. We did a like, what's good in cause,
Yeah.
and it was interesting, it's so muted at the moment. I mean, there was so
Yeah.
much brown, but there was
Yes.
this, like, pale pink, kind of warm, not quite salmon, maybe a bit kind of more of a kind of rose, like a color I would
Yeah.
never grab, but I think 'cause my hair's a bit darker, and it was like this real 80s, like, all oversized kind of
Yeah.
suit. And I tried it on, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes there's those moments where, yes, I was looking for a suit, it has been ticking over, but it
Yeah.
wasn't in that color, and it's not what I'd anticipated.
Yeah,
Sometimes
and
it's
then
like
that's the
that kind
thing.
of unexpected.
Yeah, and it's being open to those things, isn't it? So if you have a very rigid list, can't that doesn't really work. So not for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that evolution and that allowing yourself to be surprised. But yeah, I think you're so
Yeah.
creative when it comes to those third pieces and that
Thank you.
interesting element. You were doing something the other day, you were sharing about you tied a scarf around your
Oh, jeez. Yeah, well, I've got some more coming on those. My husband's like, I think you're getting a bit wacky. Like, what's going on here?" I'm like, "No, wacky is not the word that I would use." But yeah, there's certain things that I've tried to make more comfortable by kind of wrapping stuff around them. And then I was like, "Oh, that's actually really nice in terms of the way that it looks." So yeah, I'm kind of looking to kind of I call it pimping the shoe, obviously. But yeah, to sort of add things to things I've already got that I've already invested in, and can I make it better? It's just that kind of sense, I suppose.
yeah.
And it's
And I
fun
love
and yeah.
I love the function. You were just saying it makes it a little bit softer if a shoe's
Yeah.
that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
nice.
No, it's brilliant. If you wrap the scarves around a slightly uncomfortable kind of cheese wire shoe strap, it works really well.
You're also a journalist and you write, is it a monthly column for the Financial
I
Times?
did. I now just do kind of ad hoc pieces for
Oh,
FT, and I do kind of expert comment for quite a lot of the broadsheets, so like Times and Telegraph, and occasionally for like Grazia and people like that. Um,
when when you were writing in the when you're writing for the Financial Times, what did you find that people were coming to you with? What were the challenges that often would come up the most that you've written about?
there were always a lot of emails about trouser length, shoes, the right shoes, and things like kind of how did you mix things? So how do you mix textures? Which things go together? So it's that kind of worry, I think, about what's appropriate, what actually works, and some of the very kind of practical elements like the which shoe goes with which type of trouser or which type of skirt. That shoes came up a lot,
A lot.
actually. Yeah, a lot, and which I'm very happy with. But also I think one of the ones I get asked personally a lot is about tummies, because a lot of women have issues with that kind of middle section, and that can get worse with the hormones kind of at play, of course. So a lot of kind of how to disguise that and how to get fits that are comfortable. I mean, I really thought, I don't know if you thought this, Lulu, but after COVID, I was quite excited about how designers might approach that comfort factor, and it kind of, I don't know, it just didn't really happen. There's the odd, don't get me wrong, there's the odd brand doing things like the elasticated back waist, which really helps, those
Yeah.
types of things, and maybe some of the fabrics are a bit softer, blah blah blah, but there was no kind of far reaching, can we make things look like they're really fitted and not comfortable but that actually are. I don't know, there's just something.
I mean, I suppose for me that is very my lane. Like, obviously,
Mm.
I live in a more casual place, being in Brighton.
Yeah,
I was in the Fold recently, and obviously they do a lot of that. I think that
yeah,
me and them obviously do a lot of that.
yeah,
I do think there has been more of an evolution, and obviously just even things like my love of Tibby as a
yeah,
brand has so much chill and a lot of
yeah,
elastic waist.
yeah,
Again, it really works for me and my figure because I find if I have too much of a defined waist,
yeah,
it really shows off my lack of balance in my
sure.
proportions. So that
Yeah,
maybe I'm quite honed into that, and I do enjoy those elasticated waists. Although
yeah.
my mum will be listening, and she's like, she hates it.
I know, because there's quite a kind of divide, isn't there,
There
between the
is,
people that love it
there
and the
is.
people that are like, "Oh god," but actually when they're good, they're really good, and
They're
it's
very
so
good.
comfortable. So, yeah.
A place
Yeah.
that I bought quite a few from that unfortunately, I feel has, maybe I shouldn't be bad mouthing them, is I did a lot of work for Jigsaw and was very
Yeah,
engaged with Jigsaw for a long time. And obviously their designer, Jo, who I've been trying to get on the podcast, had left and she's now at Lululemon. I don't
yeah,
yeah. But they were doing a lot of things like that for a while. And I feel like
yeah.
that's a brand that I would love for them to step a bit more into.
Definitely need to.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's such a problem for so many women, that digging feeling. So you
Yeah.
want the kind of smart element of that, but you don't want the feeling of it. And you're right, the Fold are brilliant at it, and me and them do it a lot.
I suppose like Rag& and Bones whole
Yes, the
the
pretend.
jeans, yeah, the
Yeah,
pretend
yeah,
jeans, that's
that is
been
amazing.
really, really good for that.
But that's really innovative. Like, that's
So
a
and
really
yeah,
clever way of doing it. That's what
yeah,
I thought there would be
yeah,
more of that
yeah.
post-COVID, and it didn't go the way I kind of expected it to, but
Well, I
yeah.
suppose it's interesting, I mean, like brands like Sefin, who have obviously just recently,
Yeah,
gone under, but that
yeah,
maybe speaks to the fact that people don't want such, that really super smart clothing.
yeah,
We are all wanting that hybrid middle ground
yeah,
clothing that can take
yeah,
us many, many places.
exactly, yeah.
So it is interesting. And even, it's interesting that you're saying this, even coming from, writing for the Financial Times, you'd think people would want things a little bit more
Yeah.
together, but even there, they're wanting that, needing that.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's getting that mix right. And just thinking about it and kind of understanding which things will help in that kind of area, especially in that tummy area. Yeah.
So when it comes to dressing people's figures,
Mhm.
what do you think people generally get most wrong? What's the bit of advice that you're often giving out, you feel like maybe you're repeating the most?
I think this certainly in the last few years, there's been this kind of obsession with tucking. And I'm like, not everyone should tuck because if you so in order to get the kind of best balance out of having a tucked waist, so whether it's tucking in a shirt, a jumper, whatever, you ideally would have a shorter leg, a longer body. So you're making the waist go higher so that effectively you're making those two parts of the body look roughly equal, not exactly equal, just roughly equal, because that's where the eye goes, oh, look, that looks really all in proportion. And the eye is very happy looking at that.
Mhm.
I just feel like a lot of people have forced themselves to tuck when they would have looked better with it untucked, actually, or half tucked, or anything like in between, because it doesn't suit every proportion. And I think that I'm often like, should I say? Could I say? Like, it's like when I see people in the street and I'm like, oh, that needs a tucking. It's that kind of sense. So I think
Mm.
that's where fashion pushes something really hard, and actually it only works for say half of us, and it's kind of that sense of that I talk a lot about.
Mm. And I often think, and sometimes I do it with myself, and I tuck something, and then then I look at a picture, and I'm like, actually, next time
Yeah,
I think I would do it without. I think sometimes if you're not sure, I don't know if you feel like this, but if you
yeah.
take a picture, often you can see it differently to then in the mirror.
Becomes more objective, I think, when you take the picture, because then you
Yeah.
can step away from it a little bit, especially if you leave it a while to look at it and then look at it again, so you can get that slight distance from it. It really helps. It's what happens as well with a lot of clients where they'll think that they bought something, they thought it looked great, they then go to like a wedding or an event, they have photos, they get the photos, they see the photos, and then they're like, oh God, it doesn't look, and it's really upsets me because I'm
So
like, you're doing
demoralizing.
really demoralizing and something they liked that then just didn't really work. So yeah, I that's a really good way of looking at it.
I think sometimes as well, this is where I think style is the most beautiful kind of personal development tool, because we have to then have so much compassion because we can't all get it right all the time.
No, absolutely. I mean, I get it wrong plenty of times. It's just, yeah, it's just the way it is. Yeah.
And as you're going down this path of kind of life, and I think your boys are quite old now, that they finishing school.
Ah. So I've got an 18-year-old Sammy and a 16-year-old Jessie. So Jessie's just started A levels, and Sam is a snowboard instructor. So he
That's
is,
so
I know,
cool.
lucky boy.
So what does it mean for you now to kind of show up as yourself, and how is your sense of identity and self adjusting as your kids are getting older?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, isn't it? Because I think when just from the kind of kids' point of view, I think that you feel like when they're teenagers, you can kind of go full on into all your career stuff and you don't need to be around and, all that kind of thing. But actually, you sort of need to be around more, which I certainly hadn't realized. Not because they want to speak to you all the time. Most of the time, they don't want to speak to you. They don't want to be near you. They don't want you to breathe near them. Just, they're like, back off. But when they need you. And if you're not there, then, that's the problem. In a way, I feel like the app came at a good time on the one hand because it meant I was working from home a lot more. So I was here.
Mm.
Of course, sometimes that means you're there, but you're not available. So that it's this horrible kind of like push and pull all the time, I think, with the family kind of dynamics. My husband's been amazing. He's really supportive and does a lot of the heavy lifting around kind of the house and looking after the boys. So that's been really helpful. But I love the fact that as you get older, you care less. I've always wanted to care less about what people think and just kind of like be myself. And I think that I'm 52 now. I think that I'm kind of getting there finally. I think this decade, I'm really excited about this decade in the sense that there's lots of change going on, but that actually you can stop worrying so much about certain things that you just could just sort of let it go a little bit. I don't care if someone laughs at my shoes now. I would have cared a lot 10 years ago. I just wouldn't have done it. Like I wouldn't have done some of the things where I'm kind of slightly pushing it.
The wacky stuff.
the wacky stuff, you know, the rain hats, all the things that my kids laugh at, and I'm like, "Okay, you can laugh if you want." So that's a really nice thing. So that's being comfortable in your own style, in your own skin, all of those things. I think that's probably the best side effect of, and there's lots of not so good side effects of being menopausal and being over 50, but those ones, I mean, that's a gift, isn't it? It's an absolute gift.
Yeah, to know yourself, to feel
Yeah.
comfortable in yourself, to make those decisions and feel confident that it's right for
Yeah.
you. And I
Yeah,
think that's
exactly. Yeah.
amazing. So last question is what's coming up for you in the future, maybe with the app or any events? What are you most excited
Yeah. So in terms of the app, there's lots of, I can't really tell you, but there's lots of exciting things bubbling away in the background, which I'm really, really thrilled about and I hope will come off next year. What else? I mean, I'm hoping to do lots more kind of in-person. I love in-person events. I love speaking to people. I love seeing clients. I would like to be working with clients till I'm 80. I mean, I'm not one of those people that's going, when can I retire? When can I kind of stop? I just feel like I was meant to do that job and I really enjoy it. And I think it's incredibly rewarding and such a kind of privilege to be able to go into people's houses where they have to be quite open in a very kind of where you could feel very kind of destabilized, and actually they have to be very open to work with a stylist in the first place. And they are letting you into what obviously turns into a really lovely relationship and is built over many years. And I think that I'm just really, really thrilled to be doing that. And I'd love to develop that more, however that might be. I'm not quite sure what that might mean now. You know, people are shopping a bit less, which is a good thing from a planet and environment point of view. So I'd like to think about doing kind of more wardrobes, more outfits, more working with what we've got and kind of making that better. Yeah, so it's that kind of theme. It's on the styling, on the private styling stuff, it's sort of evolving and organic, and I will quite happily kind of follow that through. And on the app, yeah, I can't tell you, but there's lots of exciting things
Oh,
in the
well,
pipeline.
we will keep our eyes peeled.
Yes.
I think it's just the most fantastic thing. Is there a I meant to ask, is there a dominant shape? Is there, you must be getting so much incredible data. Is
Yes.
there one shape that comes up more than any of the others?
Yeah, I mean that kind of straight line figure is very common, and she's called Athena on the app.
Mhm.
So yeah, that comes up a lot. I think what's interesting is that things like the hourglass that we call Hestia, she is a very small percentage of the population, and yet it's kind of one of the shapes that come up as kind of the we want to look like that. And actually, it shouldn't be anyone's shape that kind of becomes the aspirational shape. It shouldn't be like that. It should just be balance the shape, make it look its best. You know, it's finding out about how all of those things come together. But yeah, so the Athena shape is probably the most dominant.
Interesting. Fascinating. Well, Anna, thank you for all your insight, all your knowledge, your incredible style, which is always really inspiring. Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Anna Berkeley Styling. I'm a bit erratic with my Instagram. I do my best. So yeah, that's there. And then the app's obviously on Google and iOS. So that's on your app store, whatever your phone is. And yeah, in the FT kind of on and off. And that's it for now, I think. Yeah.
Well, that's plenty for us to I'll make sure everything is linked. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming on.
Thanks, Lulu. I loved it.